What fractional programs are and why they matter. Hello, this is Forrest Owens. I'm an aviation lawyer, a private pilot, and FAA licensed airframe and power plant mechanic. Let's begin with a foundational point. A fractional program is not a jet card, not a club, and not simply a shared cost handshake. In the eyes of the FAA, it is a regulated operating structure. The modern model grew large enough that the FAA eventually wrote a dedicated rule for it. In 2003, fractional ownership rulemaking, the agency explained that executive jet aviation began the first large-scale fractional program in 1986, and that structure grew because it gave individuals and companies increased flexibility in the ownership and operation of aircraft while relying on a common management company. That history matters because it shows why fractional ownership became common in large turbine aircraft. Today, the government framework is 14 C.F.R. Part 91, Subpart K. Section 91.101 defines a fractional ownership program as a system of aircraft ownership and exchange with several required elements: a single program manager, two or more airworthy aircraft, one or more fractional owners per program aircraft, a minimum ownership interest, a dry lease aircraft exchange amongst the owners, and multi-year program agreements covering ownership, management services, and exchange rights. For airplanes, the minimum ownership interest is at least 1/16. The rule is designed to separate a true fractional structure from smaller access products that must be instead operated under Part 121 or Part 135. And the public record confirms how that works in practice. In NetJet's litigation in Ohio, the court noted that a 1/16 share corresponds to 50 hours of annual use. That is a useful benchmark because it translates the rule into client language. So why do sophisticated users of large turbine aircraft like fractional programs? Because the structure solves several expensive problems at once. It gives access to lift without requiring one company or one family office to own, crew, maintain, and schedule an entire aircraft for a mission profile that may not justify whole ownership. It also gives access not only to one tail, but to a managed fleet through dry lease exchange architecture that Subpart K expressly contemplates. There is also a safety and infrastructure point that deserves emphasis. Fractional programs are private operations under Part 91, but they are not ordinary unsupervised Part 91 operations. The program manager must obtain management specifications from the FAA, maintain an operating manual acceptable to the administrator, and establish an internal safety reporting system and incident response procedure. Look at the crew standards alone. Section 91.1053 requires for multi-engine turbine airplanes an airline transport pilot certificate or type rating for the pilot in command, commercial and instrument ratings for the second in command, and baseline experience thresholds, including 1,500 hours for the pilot in command. Section 91.1065 adds initial and recurrent testing. So the selling point is not merely access. The selling point is managed access within a rule set built specifically for high utilization turbine operations. This is why these programs are common. They arise where full ownership is too capital intensive, charter alone is too inconsistent, and the user wants a repeatable fleet standard with institutional support. In a large turbine fractional program, the owner is not simply buying a jet, the owner is buying the governed access to lift. In short, fractional ownership became common because it solved a real market problem. And it survived because the FAA built a dedicated regulatory architecture around it. The structure is convenient, but it's not casual. And here's the takeaway line, something I want you to remember. A fractional program is not a shortcut around aviation regulation. It is a regulated access model designed for serious aircraft users. Thank you for your interest in this topic. This information is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have any questions, and they certainly are welcome, please direct them to admin@aviationlegalcounsel.com. We look forward to helping you navigate your aviation legal needs with precision.